Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own, nothing control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 700 and what is it, 71? 761. And coming soon, private trust course. You know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's about clickbait. Y'all know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate y'all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Y'all can feel free to reach out to us. We're going to go ahead and get into it. Coming soon, private trust course. Everybody says, oh, Trust Christian, I want you to put private trust, private business trust stuff into a course. It's supposed to look like all these courses at all these websites. Ladies and gentlemen, have you seen the courses yet? There's no courses for it. There aren't going to be any courses for it. And it's not because of an individual's feelings. It's because the information is private. Oh, Trust Christian, you think you're the smartest guy in the room because you're sharing with us some information we already know. We already know it's private. Alright, we're going to go a level deeper with you. If the information is private, no trust looks the same. No family estate looks the same. That's why you cannot put it in a course. Some people might like to think that there are some things that are predictable, and then some things they require a very tailored approach. Just like a suit. If you were to put a suit on, once again, it's a tailored suit. So it's just for your body. It's just for your family estate. So when individuals say, oh, coming soon, Trust Christian, put it in the private trust course. What's the private trust course, Trust Christian? We want to get in the private trust course. We want to get into some online university. Alright, well, we deal with what you call the elite, or what you call wealthy. And no, there is no 12-week course. It's a 3-day intensive. It's a 2-day intensive. You show up 9 to 5, you come in here, it's like a borderline certification. Now you get into where you have, for example, if you have someone on your team that has the various securities licenses and things of that nature, you'll see people getting the securities licenses and things of that nature so they can help you out with that and on your team. Okay, so that's not a trust course because who do you know? There's various different types of securities licenses. So how do you know which person or which one to get? You have to do some research into that, and so that's why it may not be an overnight endeavor. It may take a few extra days or take some time to say, okay, who do I need on my team that has a securities license and different type of securities licenses? Okay, I need that person as opposed to that person because this is what I'm focused on. Oh, okay. I need to Trust Christian. I don't have any real estate. So why would you need a real estate attorney? You would more need like a regular business attorney, correct? Some people don't understand it that all attorneys don't do the same thing. So when you go to them, you're looking for very specific skill sets. How much skill do you have in quote unquote, what do they call it? In they'll ask them like in real estate, contract law, various different forms of law, intellectual property law, international law, various different things. So you're asking them about various different things, and so there's no trust course for that. Why? Because everybody doesn't need the same thing, and there's so many different things that you could need an attorney for, various different things inside of trusteeship. You just wouldn't be able to list them all because every situation is different. Everything is always going to be different. So, Trust Christian, you told us it was a coming soon. You told us it was going to be a trust course coming soon, a private trust course. We letting y'all know anybody out here telling you they got a course is just what they are. It's a hairy fraud. There is no trust course. When you go and work with Trust Christian in a vault, you're dealing with a consulting basis. Why? Because we have to diagnose the situation directly. What's going on with the situation directly? Is it a situation where, yeah, what's going on with the situation directly?
Bottom line. And those situations are individual situations. Because even within the family estate, you may have multiple family members that the family estate is taking care of, and every family member doesn't have the same needs. So that's why the trust score is not going to be able to be written out there. Now, some people are going to have to find out the this way, not the hard way, but this way. You come to find out that there is no private trust course, but there is a private business course. There is a private trustee course. And guess what? Whether you want to hear this or not, it's not even written in the book. It's actually living it. We used to go to our mentor all the time. We used to have lunch with the mentors, all of that. Go sit at lunch with the mentor, talk to him on the phone. All right, mentor, I'm getting knee deep in this. Things are getting serious. I'm managing estates. I'm sitting on boards. Okay, mentor, tell me. I need you to quiz me. We used to ask him quizzes. Quiz me, mentor. And their mentor sit there and say, well, Trust Christian, there is no quiz I can give you. Every situation's different, and so I really would need to know a situation. And it's not really like about what do you say? He would say stuff like, "Oh, it's not about that situation." He would say stuff like, "It's you can't read it in the book, Christian, but I would recommend that you." He either recommended two things. This is one mentor out of all those successful, wealthy mentors we had. One of them, he would say, for the hardest truth is, he would say, alrighty, Trust Christian, you should go back, you should go to public school and go to a public college and learn the subject matter of trust completely. Now, we've had trustees come through trustee training and they went to law school. That's just the facts. Trustees have gone through trustee training and they're like, man, I gotta go out and go to law school. And they did. And they're successful. Point being is, you say, oh, you gotta go to school, Christian. And then he would say, if not, there is no test. You have to do the best practices of a trustee. And at lunch, I'm not gonna be able to give you those all day. And it's like, alrighty, mentor, appreciate you, mentor, for telling me that you don't have all the answers. Appreciate you, mentor, for not, the mentor suggest you go to a public school. Now, whether y'all want to know this or not, we had other mentors. So we would sit in some real wealthy rooms. Huh. And the mentors would say, Trust Christian. Huh. And we gonna say this for the ones that really know what we saying. Because that's how they gonna know what we talking about. They would say, Trust Christian. Yeah, if you go to college, if you go to a public school, you're gonna get what's called controlled information. We used to sit there and we used to wonder, like, is this guy trying to pull a fast one on us? Is he trying to discourage us from going and getting an education? And he said, we're going to break a story down for y'all on this episode. So, he said, Trust Christian, the ones that go to school for this type of knowledge, Trust Christian, they get what's called controlled information. Controlled information? What do you mean, controlled information? They get controlled information. Their education is paid for by a Rockefeller. Their education is paid for, is determined by who puts the endowment in place. Y'all want to talk? Because Trust Christian can talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. Because if you don't get it, you just fall into the trap. Thankfully, Trust Christian is smart enough to figure it out after more than one mentor, not just one, says what he says. So we're going to keep going with the story. Mentor said, oh yeah, Trust Christian, if you go to college, it's going to be controlled information. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, that information they are paid for by endowments by certain families, correct? Yeah, so that's to make sure that you have a certain information. I'm like sitting there like wondering, okay, so how are we going to learn it? The mentor will tell you, well, Trust Christian, all you got to do is build a team. You're like, oh man, build a team. Some trustees would say, oh, you gotta have the money. That's not true. You don't have to have the money, but you do need to have the wherewithal. Some people would say, oh, Trust Christian, what are you talking about? You gotta have the money. You gotta have the money. You gotta have the money. You don't know what you're talking about. You ain't never networked with a top 5 accountant, a top 5 lawyer. So how would you know if they gonna talk to you for free?
You would think that they wouldn't, but they still just like everybody else at the lower level. They're an attorney. They're an accountant. They're trying to get business. You say, oh, but he's $1 million attorney. He's $1 million accountant. So how is he going to why would he talk to me? That's what y'all want to know, right? Okay. Well, all right. We'll give y'all the easy pass. A lot of the trustees that may not even have $1 million business, may not even have a business, they don't even know. Whether y'all know it or not, the people that y'all talking to are surprised that you know what you know. Because you're not having basic conversation. You're not talking about the championship. You're not talking about the basketball game, the football game. You're talking about something that they're passionate about, something that they care about, something that's actually going to help them make some money. So, yes, oh wow, I'm not able to normally talk to people about this type of stuff, especially if you don't have the money. Right. So a lot of y'all trustees, you're doing yourself a disservice by not putting yourself out there and having phone calls and conversations with these people and learning from them, but also sharing what you know. Now, whether y'all know it or not, we might even bring this trustee on and feature this trustee because they got a lot of guts. This trustee got requested per lawyers to do their paperwork because they know how to do the paperwork so good. Y'all don't want to hear that though. Why? Because Trust Christian and Vault, we work with trustees to that level where you could actually go in, have a conversation with attorneys and accountants about the estate, and guess what? First of all, they work for you. So it ain't no, oh man, the lawyer told me I couldn't do this, the lawyer told me I couldn't do that. No, you didn't ask them if they could do it or not. And once you ask them if they can do it or not, they'll let you know if they're good enough or not. But people don't want to hear that. Oh, Trust Christian, man. The attorney told me I can't do this. Y'all want to go there. The banker told me I can't do this. And the worst part about it is, if you really a sophisticated trustee, you almost have to get everything in writing. And don't think they don't want things in writing. So why wouldn't you get it in writing? Somebody tell you something, hey, I need you to put that in writing and send it over to me. I'm going to have our attorney internally look over it. Hey, I need you to send that over. All right, we got our team. Our team's going to look at it. But how many people are talking in those terms? See, a lot of first generation trustees, we're going to go ahead and throw it out there for you. A lot of first generation trustees are trying to act like they're trustees, but really you're an operator. And what's the challenging part about that is there's a difference between wealth building and wealth preservation. It's just the facts. When you get into a preservation stage, your mindset changes. Some people might think that it doesn't, but they don't really know the truth yet. But the reality is, yes, you're coming from more of a preservation stage when you're in wealth preservation. But if you're in a building stage, your mind is going to take certain risks. You're going to take certain risks when you're in the building phase that you might not take when you're in the and you shouldn't when you're in the preservation stage, because it's just what it's supposed to be, preservation. So once again, we're just gonna go ahead and share with y'all. Oh man, Trust Christian, man. You know, the mentor said don't go to the one mentor telling you that's controlled knowledge. Controlled knowledge. And we sat there with a room. I mean, it wasn't even a small room. It was a room full of like some super successful people. And we've sat in rooms like that since we've been 18. But there's a difference when you get the wealth information and you get the operator information. The operator information is definitely something that shows you you're capable of doing it. But the wealth preservation standpoint of it is those rooms, they're showing you you have to be, even if you weren't at scale, you have to think about a team. And we'll give you an example. So this same mentor that told us, oh yeah, it's the controlled knowledge, Trust Christian. It's the controlled knowledge. So we're sitting there like, okay. Came back to that same mentor before. Don't think we don't have trustees come back to us and say what we already say to you. But they do. And it's wild because we just like, man, you know, with this mentor, you just like, man, okay, he's telling us to not learn it. Is he? Is he telling us not to learn it? Or what? So we went to him
Said, all right, mentor, we gotta learn how to do the accounting for the trust. This is private trust course stuff. We need to know how to do the accounting for the trust. Y'all wanna know what the mentor said? Trust Christian, guess what? We hire people for that. You're like, oh man, you leave the phone, you PO'd, you upset. What is he talking about? Hiring people? What you mean? I'm just starting out. How I'm gonna pay for all of this stuff? A good attorney, what he just told me was whatever, thousands of dollars, all this other stuff. Right. All right. You come back, it don't matter how long it took. 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year later. All right, mentor, I didn't learn how to account stuff, but I'm running into various things, and I need to have a legal person. I'm thinking about going to law school. What you think the mentor said again? And that's when he hit us with the story. Again. But he didn't really need to hit us with the story again about it being controlled knowledge, because we understand what he was saying the whole time. He told us from day one. He told us who funded these educations. Oh, Trust Christian. There's no way I could hear that, Trust Christian, because you saying it in the public. Exactly. We heard it in the private. We understand how uncomfortable it could be for people. It goes against what's considered your belief system or your education system. That's just bottom line. Really? Yeah. And that's the challenging part when people hear, oh man, Trust Christian, man, you know, I want to go to school to learn this. We've had trustees say they're going to go back and try to learn it. But did Trust Christian do that? No. Would y'all want to go there? Oh, Trust Christian, why didn't you go back to school and try to become the super duper educated guy? Right, because you don't want to know. Our mentors understand Rockefeller thought process. Our mentors understand Henry Ford thought process. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to know what you're doing, but you do need to have the vision. You do need to have the commitment. You do need to have the persistence. You do need to have the vision. You do need to have the ability to motivate others. It's okay, but that's the case. You don't need to know everything. Oh man, I gotta know everything about real estate, man. It's like, what are you talking about? Y'all don't even want to know. Trust Christians dealing with it. You're competing against families that's been doing this for 3 generations. But you think you're gonna get up to speed in one? So the fastest way to get around the families that are in these spaces that are 3 generations plus deep, you just gotta go out there and build a team. And that's the easiest way around it. It's going to be the hardest thing for you to overcome, especially if you have an employee mentality, especially if you have a do-it-yourself mentality. You're trying to do everything yourself. And what the father used to say? Oh man, Trust Christian, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Nah, that's not how this stuff work over here. In this space, it's focused on teamwork make the dream work. And this might be the hardest thing for you. Oh man, I don't trust nobody. That's why you ain't supposed to be in trust. Y'all want to go there? These are lessons inside of the trust course that you will learn. How you going to be in a trust and don't trust nobody? Now, some of y'all might try to lukewarm it or say, oh, Trust Christian, I do trust, I trust certain people. Right. But do you trust the right people? We're not against whatever you're doing. You do whatever you want to do. But do you really trust people? Do you trust people going to show up on time? Do you trust people going to keep their word? All these different things. Because if you trust people, you should have no challenges with building a team. Should have no challenges with building a trust. But why is this so challenging, Trust Christian? Because people come in this space and they trying to treat it like it's the public. That's why. Trying to treat it like it's not a, trying to treat it like it's a controlled education. Oh man, Trust Christian. If y'all only knew Trust Christian sits on this side of the table every single day, we look out at the marketplace and we cannot even laugh at times on how everything in the public, it mirrors the private, but it's backwards. So when you sit in the public and you think it's supposed to be a certain way and it's not, it's just like, oh man, Trust Christian, I thought, that the private was going to be the same as the public. But you trying to carry your public thought process, the public education into the private. It don't work that way. You're more likely to take the private education and go into the public because it'll be a lot easier if that's the case. But it's not easier to take the public thought process into the private. Definitely not easier to do that. How would it be easier to do that? It's not easier to do that. Why? It's just not. Do you go into the private? It's about privacy, right? So then, a lot of the trustees, some of the trustees got public businesses. We tell y'all that all the time on the podcast. We done dealt with celebrities. We've dealt with people that are very successful, and and guess what? They'll tell you they own a business. They in trusteeship, the trust own their company, but they telling you they own businesses. So it's confusing, cause it's trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. It isn't, oh man, trust Christian, you telling us to own it. No, but that doesn't mean you can't control the asset. You can't control the business. Of course you can control a business. Of course you can control a business. So how is it, oh man, I gotta own it? No, ownership just incurs liability. Y'all know that. And then when you really get over to this side, you see everybody's just trying to lower their liability. After you done made a certain amount of money, all you trying to do is just lower your liability. Really? That's all they're trying to do. Just trying to lower our liability. It's just that simple. There's no other way around it. Really? Yep.
The best thing for you to do is say, okay, I'm investing in my private education. Trust Christian talks to us. Now, you gotta say, okay, is there really a course coming soon? We already told you. It cannot be a formal course that you put into some computer and you do. Everything can be put in a course. First of all, Trust Christian knows that we are going to be one of the rare few people on the internet, rare few, that is going to be talking about what we're talking about. Why? Because there's people that are in the system, and then there's people outside the system. Now, some people like to say, oh, it's the Matrix, Trust Christian, it's the Matrix, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to go ahead and drop a jewel on you. For the ones of y'all that say, oh yeah, Trust Christian, first of all, you are never in commerce. So if you think that you're in commerce, that, oh, I own a social security number, and I'm inside of the system, it has my legal name. That's the case. You're in the Matrix. The ones that try to say, oh, I'm outside of the Matrix, I'm not in here, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be in the Matrix, I'm outside of the Matrix. You understand you're not in commerce. You understand that you sign things the proper way. You understand what commerce is. You start studying the rules, the laws that govern contracts. Not because they're very unique, it's about the fact, and that they're special, it's about the fact that you understand they actually work in your favor. Y'all want to go there? The law is supposed to be in your favor. The private trust course is to let you know that things are to work in your favor. But it's not emotional. It's actually on paper. It really is. No way, Trust Christian. I can't believe that one right there. There's no way. How could you tell me that? How could you? I need to know. Alright. So once again, we sharing with you all what we know. You're not going to be in private sectors talking about the trust stuff. Why? Because whether y'all know it or not, most elite are operating in this capacity. And so if you're not an elite, no one expects you to be an elite. So the only reason you would know the information is you sat in a room with a private family or a private individual, such as a private attorney or private accountant for a well-off family, will share the information with you on how to go about utilizing it properly. Otherwise, why would you know the information specifically the way that we're talking about it? Why would you know that? You just wouldn't. Wealthy families don't have an interest in you knowing this information. It's not that, oh, I don't want competition. Whether y'all know it or not, y'all say, oh, I want to be in trust. You want to be in trust, but then you afraid of monopolies. They don't want to be a monopoly. Oh, Trust Christian, oh, that sounds advantageous. That sounds disadvantageous. I don't want to be sued. for antitrust laws? Yeah, I don't want to hear that though. But most of the big boys, the best of us, you get hit with an antitrust suit. Of course, why not? That comes with the game. You in trusteeship. They don't. Oh man, why you think you get hit with an antitrust suit? Because your name's not on anything, and they find out that guess what? Your hand is on all of it. So guess what? We need to go ahead and break this up. Is it hard to hear? Oh, trust Christian, don't tell me that. I don't want to be a part of an antitrust lawsuit. Okay. I don't want to be a part of, all this stuff you talking about a monopoly. I don't want to be a part of a monopoly. Okay. So, how do you get over it? How do you get over this stuff? We can tell you how you get over it. Oh man, trust Christian? Yeah. You gotta invest in your private education. Whether that's Trust Christian or Vote. Now some people say, oh, Trust Christian, you're trying to be all everything.
Okay, Trust Christian goes to private courses, whether you know it or not. Trust Christian goes to, we sit in private rooms, we go to wealth conferences. So, can you learn it there? Sure. Are you going to learn it on a one-on-one basis at a conference? No, but that's the difference between going to Trust Christian and Vault and you going to the public conference. The public conference will have the information in there, but at the same time, they'll have the people there, but the information that we're talking about may not be there, and that's just the facts. We okay with stating that for the record. Have no problem with stating that for the record. And we always tell it, and that's something that we're really proud of. Is you say, oh man, Trust Christian, how do I make it happen? Why didn't you go to the private wealth conference yet? And we're going to do another episode of how to conduct yourself in the private wealth conference, because it ain't no, oh man, Trust Christian, I'm gonna go to the private wealth conference with boots on and with wild clothes on and all this other stuff. It's like, they actually tell you that it's business dress at these events. So if you want to be taken seriously, then you would actually, you would actually make it a point to do what we talking about. That's just bottom line. You're gonna go to the wealthy conference. Okay, I went to the wealthy conference, Trust Christian in the fall, but I went and now you telling me that there's a code of conduct in the rooms. It's like going to a golf course. Some people say, "Oh, Trust Christian, I ain't going to play golf." Well, now you know why we're not. Now we know why you're where you are, or whatever you want to talk about. It's not a big deal to us. Trust Christian involved is not a big deal to us. It's really not. But we will say to you guys that when you do go into wealthy rooms, if you want to go into wealthy rooms, there is a code of conduct. There's a dress code. There's just a reality of situation. And the sooner you get comfortable with that, the easier it'll be. That's just bottom line. Of course, it's going to be easier. Of course. So we look forward to hearing from you all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Christian at trustchristian.com. Can it be challenging for people to hear this information? We understand it. But we sat in the rooms. We still sit in the rooms. It's just, we sit in the rooms. And we I know that a lot of this information comes with a mindset. Not just, oh, I gotta have the money. Yeah, you gotta have the money, sure, but it's about the mindset, ladies and gentlemen. We look forward to hearing from you all. Christian at trustchristian.com. Diagnosing your situation directly and going forward from there. Peace and joy.